There's one last subtle issue that I'd like to bring to your attention because it will help with the homework. And that's what I alluded to earlier here. It is helpful to create row and column headers broader than the categories. These are the two variables to be used in the tests, the hypotheses tests. This is similar to an issue that we saw earlier in the semester when we were just starting to look at probability and contingency tables. Do you remember that at that time, they'd give us a table like this, but they did not tell us any row or column totals? And do you remember how useful it was to figure those out? Because a lot of those totals served as denominators in our probability fractions. So this is kind of analogous to that. The issue here basically is that in a homework problem like this, they will often give you the categories like hospitalization, death, or recovered at home, but they won't expressly state the variable that these categories represent. In other words, they won't expressly say COVID outcome. But that phrase COVID outcome is what we actually need for the hypothesis tests. So it's going to be upon us to come up with that generalization for some of these problems. In this example, I present pets treated at Dr. Dolittle's speech clinic last year. Okay, so I'm going to leave the row variable and column variable unknown for now, unstated, and I'm going to present you with the row and column categories instead. So some of the animals that came into Dr. Dolittle's clinic last year were male, some were female, and of course, in the 21st century, we always have to be as exclusive as inclusive as possible. So we'll say that some of the pets were even non-binary. Furthermore, the pets are also broken down into several rows, such as dogs, cats, livestock, and all the other categories that you see here. So, for example, there were 8 female amphibians. My question to you is, given the following row and column categories, what would be a reasonable description for the row and column variables that are broken down into these categories? So I hope that these should be kind of self-evident. So, for instance, we have 3 categories represented by columns. Some of the pets are male, some are female, and some are non-binary. Male, female, and non-binary are all examples of what? Variable. So we might say something like gender, right? Okay. And then in the rows we have dogs, cats, livestock, small mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. These are all categories of... Actually, this one's kind of hard to state. I guess I'll just say kind of animal, because they're not all species. Some of them are species, some of them are classes, some of them are just made-up categories. But they're all different kinds of animals. So now we can state the null hypothesis by using these 2 variables. Gender is independent of the kind of animal. That's basically it. So in other words, whether the pets that come in are dogs or cats, they come in roughly the same proportion of male to female to non-binary. That's what the null hypothesis would state here. The alternate hypothesis would obviously be the opposite, and then you can take it from there. But this is a conceptual step that I think I just felt that I needed to draw some attention to this for your homework, because notice that the way the table was presented, it didn't actually use those terms like gender or kind of animal. Well, congratulations to you. Congratulations to all of us. You're done learning. That was the last lecture of the course. So this concludes the Week 7 lecture from here on out, it's all on basically testing. You're going to take your week 7 homework. You're going to do quiz 3, which covers the weeks 5 and 6 material. And then, of course, in week 8 is the big final exam. And there are discussions still going till the end. So there's a week 7 and week 8 discussion. And accordingly, my Zoom rooms are still going to be open to the end. So hopefully I'll have a chance to see you on Sunday of week 7 and even Sunday of week 8, just a few days before the final exam is due. All right, good luck on your homework. Great semester, class. See you soon.